Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about stress at work. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I have a question for you. Good. Do you think one should work in a company which gives you stress and pressure to work, where you feel stressed and don't want to work anymore? Is this a trick question? Because it feels like a trick question. No. Are you testing me in some way? Because if you're actually asking me, should you work in a place where you don't want to work anymore and you feel a lot of pressure and stress? I feel like you've already answered your own question there. Well, no, of course not. Because, I mean, the only reason I can imagine that you're asking this is because you want my blessing to go and resign, or, which is more likely, there are circumstances that makes you less assertive in your life choices. And that's what I can probably speculate a little bit about and see if I can help you with. If this is not, if I'm going down the wrong route here, you have to tell me. Very sorry if I'm wasting everybody's time by trying to answer this from my speculations. Because if you are already, like, if all you wanted was my blessing, you have it. Like, I'm doing you can't see it, but I'm doing like a blessing sign of some sort. I don't know which religion it is for, but it's all of them. Like, I'm blessing you. Go and resign from your place of work and find yourself. However, if there are circumstances, I'm going to speculate, and my speculation is that you are either unsure about your market value, in other words, you don't know if you're going to get another job, or you are uncertain about yourself, whether or not you have a value, whether or not the problem isn't that the place of work is the issue, but rather that you yourself, you're the issue, that you for some reason can't cut it as a programmer, or like that things are just gonna not work out for you in the next place, or so forth. And so let's talk about those a little bit. So the first thing I want you to know right here and right now is that there is no such thing as being a there's no such thing as being too hard on yourself. What I'm saying is that if you feel bad because you feel like you can't make it, or you can't do this or do that, that's fine. You can be hard on yourself. You can absolutely say that, yeah, you know what, I should have done better. The thing that you need to remember, though, is that pain for the sake without purpose is not going to help you. A little bit of pain, or a little bit of resistance or stress, or things like a bit of punishment or consequences from your actions is actually a very good motivator for you to do better. That's the thing that should be driving things. So if you're in this bucket where I'm speculating here, if you actually do feel as if you're not good enough, or that the problem is that you are not performing, you have to ask yourself whether or not is that really true. Because if you're in a work environment, usually one or two things are there's a spectrum here as well, of course. But if you truly are a weak programmer, if you are really, really weak, and you know that you are weak, then technically the stress that you are feeling is not because the problem is the place of work. The problem is you. You can't cut it, and you are aware of it. And the worst part is that your manager is aware of it as well. It can also be that your manager or your boss or your environment, which is the thing that you're trying to, like, that's very clearly, at least what I'm taking away from this is what you are trying to communicate, that the place of work, like, you basically want me, I'm guessing here, to say that of course you should quit, because of course your place of work is always going to be the reason as to why you're feeling all the stress. That's not true, and I'm not going to give you that. That's why I'm saying that you can't really be too hard on yourself. Because simply put, I don't know if you are actually kicking yourself for no reason because you're actually really good, or if you're actually kicking yourself because you can't cut it. And I will say that I think that every single person will perform better under the right amount of stress. And that's the thing that you need to figure out for yourself. What is the right amount of stress for you? Because it might be the case that you should quit this job. You should really do it. Not because this job is necessarily bad, but simply because you are at a point in your life where you can't cut it in this environment, and you might have to find somewhere easier or something else to do so that you can develop yourself to a point where this sort of environment wouldn't be much of an issue. And I think that that is the mindset that you should have. You should really ask yourself, if you are under the right amount of pressure. Now, I feel that this is very unlikely that you are under the right amount of pressure, because you have already stated that you don't want to work there anymore. I'm just asking you to really look into your soul and ask, is it because you actually have, in other situations, you have proof, you already know that you're a decent developer, you're not especially bad, and you're actually being poorly treated, because that you should not accept. As I like to make the analogy to when it comes to stress and so forth, that it's just like exercise. I like this analogy a lot. When you start to work out, when you start to try to get into shape, you have to, a little bit of pain is good for you, a little bit of stress on the body. Like, that's what you're putting yourself through, basically. You're trying to create resistance for yourself and make your body work and go through some ache and so forth, so that you can get stronger. That is what happens when you have the right amount of pressure, and you should accept that, and I think that you should embrace to have that right amount of pressure. However, that's where, as I said, you have to be honest with yourself. If you are getting too much pressure, then it's just like with working out. You're going to damage yourself. If you push your body further than it's supposed to go, you're going to hurt yourself. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. But you shouldn't, at the same time, go into this, I like to call it, victim mentality, where you believe that the world owes you something, or you believe that it's that where you feel that it's much easier to just accept the truth from someone saying that, oh no, you're just good as you are, you were born perfectly, there's no way for you to improve. Don't be that type of person. Understand that you can always improve. But as I said, that is just what I think that you should think about. You have clearly stated that you don't want to work here anymore, so regardless of if it's because they're too hard on you or you are simply not good enough, the end results are the same. You need to find an environment where you are a better fit. So that's the one thing that I can look at. And the other thing is that I can consider that, all right, let's assume here that you're afraid that you won't find another job. Now, I don't know what your experience level is, but I would say that this is a gamble that you have to make yourself. I would say that if you are an experienced developer, and you, as I was saying earlier, you actually do have proof, or you know for yourself that you are a decent developer, there are other companies out there who have a need for you, you shouldn't be afraid to switch jobs. Because, I mean, you're suffering right now, and I promise you that you can only get into a better environment if you're already suffering. Assuming, of course, as I said, that you feel fairly certain about those sorts of things. And if, let's say that you are a junior developer, or you're someone who's really unsure whether or not you're going to get a next job or something like that, then I think that this is an example of, let's do the analogy to fitness again. You have to sprint now. You're in a sprint mode where you know, like, you can deal with the stress because you've been staying for this long, and I think that you should find something to move to before you just say, I'm going to quit. Unless, as I said, unless you are at your end, if you're at the end of your rope, then there's no discussion. You need to collapse, or you need to just let this go. Otherwise, you can continue being in the company that you are until you either have something else lined up, or you have, I don't know, reached a point where you feel like you might want to start your own company, or where you have options. Because the thing is, guys, every single person goes through moments of stress. Sometimes, like, we have a lot of it, and sometimes we have basically none of it. And I think that there should be a healthy balance to this, because just as things going well for you and things going bad, it needs to be in balance, like a wave. And only you can tell whether or not the thing that you're experiencing now is so harsh that it's unbearable anymore. So what I want you to take away from this is that I believe that if you are truly feeling horrible at your place of work, you should absolutely consider quitting. I'm assuming here that if you're asking me this, because I feel like this is a very obvious question to answer, there are circumstances, and I'm just guessing now that one of the circumstances can be that you are insecure about yourself, whether or not you're a good developer or not. And as I said, I don't believe that you can be too hard on yourself. I don't know, because I can't just tell you that of course you're being too hard on yourself. Of course it's the company's fault, because that's just going to make you feel better. But you have to figure out for yourself if you have really been giving it at your all, and that you know for a fact that you're a decent developer, if that's true or not. Yeah, only you can say, because it might be, of course, that you are being too hard on yourself, or like the company's mistreating you, and then you should definitely quit. But at the same time, I don't want you to get to a point where you feel like, oh, you're always the victim. You don't have to work. You have to work. You should really push yourself. Find the sweet spot of stress. That's a perfect thing for you, because it's like building muscles. It's going to make you stronger. On the other hand, if you do have the concern that you're not going to find another job, if you're an experienced developer, I can basically promise you that you will be able to find another job, that you don't have to worry about. There's an enormous demand. If you are uncertain about that because of things such as age and skill and seniority and so forth, then you have to play this a little bit by ear. I would suggest that you have a look at, can I endure this at least until I find something else to line up with, or at the very least until I figure out what am I lacking to go into that next position. And lastly, if all of those things are impossible for you and you're starting to feel like almost, I'm saying basically physical or mental damage from this entire experience, nothing else matters. Just quit on the day and fuck the consequences, because your health is much more important than holding on to something that is like poison to you. Have a great day.